Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. Got a big show lined up for you. Let's get right on into it. All right, folks, we've had a big week in SEC basketball. VOLS, Kentucky, and Arkansas have picked up some big-time players, and we're going to get right into that. Oh, and at the end of this video, I'm also going to do an update on the NCAA baseball tournament, the regionals, and do a total update on it. And we're going to find out who's heading to
Omaha! 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 Omaha!
That's right, Omaha. But first, it's going to be all about basketball. All right, for Kentucky fans, I know they're relieved. They picked up Jackson Robinson. He has withdrawn from the NBA draft and commits to Kentucky. And the thing that's important to remember about Jackson is that he's already worked with Mark Pope. He was at BYU and was a darn good player. And they had their list of guys. They had Chaz Lanier as their number one. Then they had Jackson Robinson, who was a number two. And then they had a fella from Miami that was a guard that was number three. And obviously, they picked up Jackson after they missed out on Chaz Lanier. This guy's a heck of a ball player. And again, Mark Pope knows him really well. And Robinson averaged 14 points a game. He shot about 42% from the field, 35% from three-point range. He played about 26 minutes a game. He was coming off the bench. He was their sixth man of the year. And this is another guy they can bring off the bench to shoot threes. He could also start for him. He's a very good player and fills a position of need for Kentucky. They have done an excellent job in the transfer portal. They picked up a ton of good players. Let's take a look and see where they're sitting right now. All right, they do have a couple of recruits coming in, Travis Perry and then Trent Noah, who they stole from South Carolina. And let me tell you right now, South Carolina's not happy about that at all. No, Jackpot's very unhappy about it. But here you see they just picked up Jackson Robinson, big-time four-star. And then they've got a bunch of really good players, four-star, all down the line. These are guys with a ton of experience, and most of them are from really good programs and will fill a bunch of needs. They've now picked up 12 players. It shows 11 here, but there's a fella that was on a mission. There was a BYU guy, Chandler guy, that will make number 12. They have one open spot. I don't know if they're going to go ahead and fill it right away or if they'll just hold that spot. A lot of teams will do that. They might pick up a guy from Europe, or there might be another transfer they look at, just filling a position of need, or maybe a project or something along those lines. There's also the possibility, and a lot of teams are doing this, is to not fill that last spot. That way you don't have somebody that's disgruntled at the end of the bench mad at you because he never gets to play. So Kentucky's filled up their team, and understand Mark Pope started at 0.
Okay.
When John Calipari went to Arkansas, every player either entered the transfer portal, went to the NBA, or decommitted. So he had to fill an entire roster like that, and he's done it, and he's got a lot of good players and experienced guys. This is not a team that's going to struggle as far as talent or experience. What they're going to struggle with is being cohesive, and they're going to need some time to get this team playing together. It's not easy to do, but there's a bunch of teams that are in that exact same position. Even a team that's kept their coach, like Rick Barnes, for example, at Tennessee, we had to fill a ton of spots too. Not near as many, but you're putting together a kind of a new roster every year now with the portal being the way that it is. And speaking of John Calipari, he just picked up DJ Wagner, who was a big-time five-star he had at Kentucky. And Calipari has pulled a bunch of commitments from Kentucky, 3 5-stars, and then he also brought in some guys that transferred from Kentucky who played for him last year. And let's take a look at where Arkansas is. He's put together a heck of a team, which shouldn't surprise you any. It's what the man does. As you can see, their overall rank is third as far as recruiting. They're number 1 in transfer rank. And here are the 3 5-stars that were committed to Kentucky that they moved over to Arkansas. Boogie Flan, Carter Knox, Billy Richmond. And I know it shows 4-star here, but they're all top 30 guys. That's 5-star to me, and it is in other services. DJ Wagner, they just got him, another 5-star. And this is Adu Thoreau, who also played at Kentucky. John L. Davis, an excellent player. That was a big get. Jonas Adu, who played for Tennessee, we're fully aware of him. He's a solid player, a good scorer, tall. He can block your shot. And then Avizic, who also played at Kentucky, 7'2". So they're going to have 2 really good shot blockers in there. And if you'll notice, look here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And John Calipari said he might only go 8 or 9 deep on this team. And he may not fill those other spots. He may just put walk-ons in there or graduate assistants that can help them have a team to play against. He has said that he is not real fired up about putting 13 guys on the team and having to deal with a bunch of divas sitting at the end of the bench mad at him. That's what he put himself in at Kentucky. He literally had too much talent. And that can absolutely be a problem because there's only 5 spots that can start, and you can only put in so many guys in a game. If you play all 13 guys in a game, it gets kind of ridiculous unless you're up by 30. So he has pretty much made it clear. He's like, look, back when I was at UMass, he said, I played 6 or 7 guys. That's kind of how it was, and he liked it that way. So you may not see him fill up many more spots out of this. He may go with like 9 dudes. And he's talked about it, and he's saying, I'm doing this very different than I did at Kentucky. I've learned my lesson. I'm going to bring in a bunch of transfer guys who are experienced. I'm going to bring in some big-time 5 stars. Instead of 6 or 7, he said, I'm going to bring in 3 or 4. And I think that makes sense because you're going up against teams that are 23, 24, 25-year-old on average. And he was going up with a bunch of 18-year-olds who had never played true team ball and didn't know how to play defense because they just rolled the rock out there and said, score your 30, son, because you're our 5-star in high school. You can't do that in college ball. These 25-year-olds, they don't give a crap that you've got 5 stars. They're going to whoop up on you in the SEC. They're going to smack that ball down and say, now how good are you? So Arkansas's got a very talented team they put together. I like John Calipari's new theory. I think it's going to work out for him. He'll probably have a successful year, and that'll be really good for Arkansas. That's a great hire for them, okay? Do you honestly think that they'd have hired some other coach, they would have had this high a ranking in transfer or in the recruiting? Absolutely not. They're immediately relevant. Now let's talk about Tennessee. I think the Vols have done a great job in the transfer portal. They got exactly who they wanted and realized we didn't have to go out and get 10, 12 guys. We needed about 4 or 5 dudes out of the portal, and that's exactly what Rick Barnes has done. And he got the exact guys he wanted. And understand, this is the guy that brought in Dalton Connect. So he has a pretty good understanding of what he's looking for. And when you look at recruiting, he only brought in 1 dude. This is Bishop Boswell, who I would think he'll probably work with, and he's probably more of a future player. Then they went in the portal, and they got some great players. Chaz Lanier was the cherry on the cake of this portal year. A tremendously efficient three-point shooter, shoots over 40%, fills it up, scores 20 points a game. He can dunk the ball he's another kind of a shorter version of Dalton Connect. You're going to see what an athlete he is. You're going to be very happy, Tennessee fans, very happy.
I like it a lot.
Also, they picked up Igor Milisak, who is 6'10" and can shoot the rock as well, a very good three-point shooter. He is going to stretch the floor like you cannot believe. A very difficult matchup. Then Felix Okpara, who will be their rim protector at about 7 foot, and he will block your shot like crazy. And then they picked up Darling Stone Dubar. This guy, he might end up being the Dalton Connect Jr., can score, can shoot 3, very athletic. He's a go-to guy as well. So you got Chaz Lanier, you got Darling Stone Dubar. Of course, we've got our point guard, Zakai Ziegler, who is a fantastic player. And we've got a bunch of other guys that know exactly what to do in the Rick Barnes system. We're going to be a really good team. This Chaz Lanier pickup was huge. And I could not be more happy with the transfer portal that Rick Barnes has pulled off. Just perfect. Just really ideal. And he's kind of, Barnes has rethought his coaching a little bit. He's going much more offensive-minded. Now, understand, we will have a great defense. That's what the guy does. He's always in the top 5 in defense. One of the reasons these guys probably came to Tennessee was to learn to play defense, just like Dalton Connect did. Chaz Lanier will learn how to play defense. You can count on it, and so will these other guys. And this will be a very good team. Don't be surprised if we wind up in the Elite 8 again. We might even win the SEC again, which would be fantastic. That's important to me. I know a lot of people, it's just a tournament game. Baloney. You win the SEC, that's a big deal. Anybody talk smack about Rick Barnes after winning the SEC, I don't even want to hear it. You won the SEC. I don't care if they'd have got put out in the first round of the NCAA. Yeah, that would suck. But when you win the SEC, it's a big deal. All right, folks, I promised you an update on the Division I baseball tournament. And we're in the regionals right now. as you can see, Tennessee's the #1 seed. They're going to be playing Northern Kentucky tomorrow, and they're in a 4-team division here, Indiana, Southern Miss. Southern Miss would be the most difficult team in this, but Tennessee will be favored in all of these. And if they do win, they'll become the regional champion, and then they'll go to the Super Regionals, and they'll play that in June 7th through 9th, which would be the next week. Arkansas is also a #1 seed. They'll be playing Southeast Missouri State, and they'll be favored in that heavily. Also, Kansas State, Louisiana Tech is in their category here, and Louisiana Tech's pretty good. But Arkansas should win the regionals and make it to super regionals, but there's no guarantee in baseball. It's a very fickle sport. Let's take a look at Kentucky. Kentucky is also a #1 seed. They shared the SEC championship with Tennessee, and then Tennessee won the tournament. They're going to be playing Western Michigan. Illinois and Indiana State are also in their quadrant for the region, and Kentucky should make it to the super regionals. Georgia's also a #1 seed. They're going to be playing Army West Point tomorrow. Clemson's a #1 seed. They're playing High Point tomorrow. Florida's a #3 seed. They're playing Nebraska. Texas, #3 seed. Texas A&M, a #1 seed. They're playing Grambling. Texas is playing Louisiana. LSU's a #2 seed. They're playing Wofford. Alabama is a #2 seed. They're playing UCF. They're in with Florida State and Stetson. So a bunch of really important games in the regionals tomorrow. And again, there's no guarantee. You could be the #1 seed versus the worst team in this, and there's 64 starting out, and they'll be eliminated down to 16 in the super regionals, and then they go to Omaha. And there's 8 teams in the World Series, as I recall. If I'm wrong about that, you can correct me. I'm just going off my memory. So anyway, that's an update. So tomorrow's a huge day for baseball. And Tennessee fans, I know you're excited. Tennessee has really been good this year. I know Kentucky's been very good. Look, the SEC's loaded. When you look at this top 16 seeds, look how many SEC teams are in here. It's Tennessee 1, Kentucky 2, A&M 3, North Carolina 4, Arkansas, Clemson, Georgia, Florida State, Oklahoma, NC State, Oklahoma State, Virginia, Arizona, UC Santa Barbara, Oregon State, and East Carolina. So the SEC has the top 3 seeds and 4 of the first 5. So a very eventful day tomorrow. And as far as Arkansas, Kentucky, and Tennessee in the transfer portal, a very good week, very strong for all of them, and they filled some critical needs. That Arkansas thing of him, I'll be very interested to see if he stays at 8. Surely he'll go to like 10. 9, he's got to go to at least 9. I mean, what if you have an injury or 2?
Oh, come on!
You know, it's not like you can go in the transfer portal once the season starts. At least I don't think you can. Anyway, if you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Let's me continue to cover all these big sports stories. If you've not subscribed, hit this little button right here. I'd certainly appreciate it. It would cost you a dime. Would help me out. And right over here is the most recent video. YouTube thinks you'll enjoy. And we'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay.